John, thanks very much for joining me today and sharing your experience as you and your team have walked through the Power Team Compass program over 5 weeks earlier in this year. So I would just love to, hear about you and the story for your team and how it impacted you and what, impact it had on your organization in particular. But maybe we start by telling me just a bit about the Center of Hope, Salvation Army Center of Hope in London, Ontario. Tell me about your organization and what do you do?
Yep. So we are called the Center of Hope. It's mostly known as a emergency shelter, but it's a lot more than that in this building. So we're part of the Salvation Army, so faith-based organization. We have 220 residents here, and I have 150 staff that are all in one building. So we have different programs in here. We have something called the Housing Stability Bank. We have transition beds, which means people can actually live in them. They're private rooms, private bath, private shower. They rent those, homeless folk, and then they can be in those up to a year, no longer because of the rules with tenancy acts and stuff. And if we want to become a tenant and they stay 365 days, then we don't want to be tenants. We want to support people to find homes and housing elsewhere, right? Housing first kind of thing. We also have a community program, which we're the second largest food bank here. We run hamper programs at Christmas, toy programs for kids. We give out over 6,000 toys every Christmas to the community here. Yeah, and meals for 5,000 families, at Christmas time. So very busy place. We're part of the kettles when we're not responsible for running them, but we receive funds from them. And so, some of our staff go and help at the kettles just to support that as well. So the shelter only has 88 beds, and the rest is really run through. We also have what we call a recovery community center, very unique in Canada. We're the only one that we're aware of in Canada, and we've taken private rooms and we've turned them into what we call a recovery community center, where folks come into the detox, which is in our building as well. They can then, after they detox, they can move into the recovery community center. They have their own room again, and again, it's a rent thing. The lowest rent is based on if they were an OW, Ontario Works, and then from there, we could help them find, and we do help them find a treatment center to go to. And then when they're done at the treatment center, we keep their bed here. And so they could come back and they could live in that spot for up to 4 years. So we call it supportive housing, and it's staffed 24/7. That's not ongoing funding. So we're working on grant funding and more funding for that to continue. We have funding right now just until Christmas, December of this year. But we've got some feelers out for grant money again and so on to keep it going. And it's been amazingly successful.
Awesome. So what would your impact be in the community? Like, do you have any metrics in terms of, here's how many people we touched in, 2020, yeah, for example?
We have 220 clients here, residents, right? But we also have a community program, and we meet needs of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in the community. So whether it's by feeding them, whether it's by supporting them, we run income tax clinics. And so, we have a variety of things that we do that impacts the community all around. So it's not just one thing. We have a variety of things. The Housing Stability Bank, people can come and get a grant to pay for their rent or hydro bill. And then they can also get loans, and they pay the loan. As soon as they get a loan from us, we forgive 50% of the loan. So if you got a loan for $1,000 to pay your rent, you only have to pay back $500. Wow. And then if you can't pay that back, we work out a different deal, and you can work that out over 3 years. And by the end of the day, it costs you $20 a month. We're not looking for the recovery piece. We're looking to help people out. So that's what the Salvation Army does in general, right? I mean, we can access the emergency truck here if we needed to, and we've done that for community meals. When COVID first hit, our emergency truck was here. It was parked on our property, so we used it to serve meals, and we were serving over 300 suppers every night. Wow. For 6 months to folks. So we're funded in 2 different ways. One by the city here is one of our funders, and the local health inter network is the other one, and we call it the LINS here in Ontario. And they fund the withdrawal management program as well. So there's just lots and lots of people coming in and out. People come here from the community to access the money from the Housing Stability Bank. Since COVID, we've been doing it online, and we've had to restructure everything how we did it so that we could do that. And we've had some of those staff working from home. And we open up our chapel in the winter for what we call cold alerts. Well, with COVID this year, we just kept them open 24/7, and we just filled those spots every night, even with the good weather. Even if it was warm out, like right now, we still have them open, and it's 35 degrees up, but people will come in, incoherent at 1 o'clock in the morning and just crash there for the night. And we give them breakfast, and away they go.
Wow. So big organization, a lot of diverse services that you offer. Tell me about your management team, because you've got a sizable management team that we worked with.
Yeah, there's 15 of us. When we started with you, Mark, we had 3 directors. We now have 2 directors. Part of that was the one director retired. And in rehiring, the person we rehired into that position didn't have all the qualifications to be a director. So we made that a manager's position, and that person will work to develop that position back to the directors. We have managers and supervisors, of each program. And so, it's just each program is specifically managed and supervised. We have 3 in the emergency shelter part, which is one of the reasons that, we ended up wanting to do some teamwork because we're really siloed. And I think COVID had even siloed us more because every day you had to talk about COVID. Like you just could not in a place like this, right? It's always about protecting and safety and so on. So I wouldn't say that we've ever stopped growing or stopped doing things in us, but recognize, halfway through this piece of COVID that we really had become siloed, and we needed to change that and figure out. So, after reading your book, I just saw that as a great opportunity for us to do something different, continuing to move forward, but I wanted to bring the team back together again. So.
Yeah, so tell me more about this concept of being siloed, because a lot of organizations experience this. And what was it for you, and what did you want to do differently? Like what led you to say, hey, let's embark on this program?
Yeah, so being siloed was driving me crazy because, when I talked to a manager or supervisor, they couldn't see outside of what they were doing. But what they were doing within was great, right? And so, me and my naivety, and I've been a manager leader for a long time, I just thought, what if I changed all my management team around and let them experience another department? Maybe that will help with the siloing. So I started talking a bit about it, and I just saw these like big eyes, like, deer in the headlight kind of eyes, like, and I thought, yeah, that's not the best plan, John, you're stupid. Like, you're an idiot. What are you thinking? Right. Right. So it's like, okay, let's bring the team together. Let's do some teamwork, some team development. And I've been sharing with the team all along, like, we're not going to get caught in COVID by not moving forward. We're always going to do something and work towards when we work towards coming out of COVID, but how do we work together as a team to do more than what we're doing? So that's kind of where I was heading with them. I saw your book when you brought it out, and I saw it on Facebook. And so I bought it, read it, and I thought, this is exactly what I need if I'm going to. And so I've led groups in leadership. I've led teams in team development. Best book I've ever read for this. It was like, this is exactly what people need to read, because it had a different twist to it. And you know what, we're so used to what we've do because we've always done it. And that comment just drives me nuts. And so when I read your book, Mark, it was like, this is really, really good stuff. This is the best in my 40-year career of team leadership, and how do we move forward, and how do we do something and build the team again. Again, good people. I just didn't think we were working well as a team at that point. So I bought a book for all my staff.
Thank you. And
yeah,
thank you for the
made you
kudos.
a millionaire.
Thank you for the kudos on the book. So did you have a picture in your mind before you actually began the program of, this is what ideal looks like for me? Like, this is what I want my team to look like. What was that for you? What's the image?
It was being able to work with each other and for each other in the organization, right? I wanted this supervisor to understand something of this program. I wanted this manager to understand something of this. Not necessarily have to know exactly what went on in the program, but know exactly what each one of us does within who we are and what our input and how important our input is into the whole organization, not just your department. So I wanted my shelter staff to have input into who we are as an organization for the other 15 of the other 12 managers. Like, how do we do that together, right? And so when I read that, I thought, this is something I really think is going to do that for this team after reading the book. And then that's when I approached you. And I thought, would you be interested in doing this with my team with us online? And part of that for me was I could read the book and I could read it again and again and again, and then I could present it. So what I did is I bought the book for my whole team, right? Bought all 15 copies. Actually, I bought more, and because I did have some managers coming in and out at that time, and so, but I wanted to be part of it with them, not being the leader of it, because I wanted to be part of how the team developed with me included. So that's why I asked you if you would consider leading it for us, so I could be part of the discussion and not leading the discussion all the time. And so that was really what I was hoping to get out of it, that I would become part of the team through that process and not be seen as the executive director who stands back and makes everybody do what they want to do. That's not who I am. I wanted to be engaged. I wanted them to be engaged. And what I quickly discovered when you agreed to do that for us, even in the first breakout group, I was just a member of the group. Like, I had one of my junior supervisors leading the group and did an amazing job, which I knew he could, but I was part of the discussion, not part of them looking at me and say, so what do you want us to do? That's what I wanted to happen, and it did.
That's awesome. So I think there's two key points there for people that are watching this. One is breaking down silos, not only so that people see each other's role, but they see the big picture, like they see how the pieces all fit together. And then, like you said, you were very wise as the executive director, and a lot of leaders struggle with this, is there are times when you just need someone else to come in and facilitate so that you can be part of the group, right? And not dominate the conversation, and let them own it, because it really is about ownership of the team. Absolutely. And you want your people to own the team, the big picture of what we're doing, etc. So tell me about your staff when you embarked on this process. They think you're nuts, or what?
Well, when you give your managers a book and say, you got to read this by this date, they look at me like I have horns thrown out of my head. Yeah. But they all did it. Awesome. Like, and I think I gave them 3 weeks because I really wanted to get at this, right? We're starting to talk about next steps with COVID. I wanted this to be part of that process, to help us transition out as well and do it good, do it well. So as we were also moving forward with other things, I really wanted to see the team come together to do this. So no, right from the start, I really feel that they were engaged in it. They were connected to it. Because I just didn't give them the book and say, here's what we're doing. It was with a lot of description. It was like, we really we need to build our team. We need to get back to what's our foundation as a management team. And the book and the leadership of yours, of you and the group, led us back to being very foundational of who we are and how we work together. So for me, we had 15 separate people doing some great stuff. At the end of the day, we had 15 great people doing stuff together. And awesome. That's really what I was looking for. And so to take that even a bit further, if you don't mind, is that as we were going through that process, and you're well aware of this, is that going from team building led us into strategic planning. And and now in my management meetings, we meet every other week as a management team. I meet with my directors every day. That's how we start our day off. We've done that all through COVID. But as the management team, we meet every 2 weeks. And what is happening in my management meetings is we'd be having this discussion, and somebody said, wait a minute. Remember when Mark was doing this? This is what we talked about? Yeah, we're not doing that right now. And you just saw this, and that's when I saw the ahas. That's when I saw, let's get back to that, right? Because it was becoming our foundation of what we were doing. So we'll be in a Zoom call, and it comes up different times, like, but remember we talked about this, and we talked about the, what do you call it? How we're going to build the
your lighthouse.
The lighthouse, right? And somebody will bring the lighthouse up right in the middle of it. So wait a minute, you're building the top of the lighthouse right now, and we haven't done the foundation part yet, right? And so I just saw all those things, and you can call them cliches, whatever you want to call them, but I just saw how it just brought the team into this. We were now all on the same page. 12, 15 people on the same page, doing the same work, thinking the whole organization, not just department.
Awesome. So, and I watched your team throughout the process, and I saw them open up to it, and I saw the lights come on as well. I saw the aha moments as we put the pieces. We systematically walked together and put the pieces together. And you're right, you can't divorce it from your strategic plan. Like, it comes down to that. I guess my question is, what did it do for you in this process as you went through the 5 weeks together?
Yeah. So, like I said, being the executive director, right from COVID, right from the start of this, I have been working with my team on, we are going to continue to grow. We are not going to let COVID stop us in our tracks. And whatever that may be. And so we engaged our teams that way. You know, we start off every one of our meetings with appreciations. I just want people to appreciate who we are, what we do, and just it's about how do we move something forward to where we're at. So what I saw from that, and for me, I just saw this team of people who I was very concerned about because I really did feel the silo piece. But I just saw this team come together to be more interested and more focused on us as an organization and how do we manage 150 staff? How do we manage 220 people who live in this building? How do we manage, 1,000 people in our community program? How do we manage people in the Housing Stability Bank who get in line and come with their kids to get money to pay for their rent? Like, how do we as a team do that? And that's what I saw develop through that 5 weeks is the team very quickly, I think quicker than I anticipated, gelled as a team to see that we are an organization, not an organism. And so, so we just really connected well. I saw what I would consider junior, and I don't mean it in terms of age or anything, but just not as experienced as a manager or supervisor. I had them, so what actually it turned into is they started leading smaller groups of our strategic planning, and they'd never done it before. They'd never led a group on strategic, they'd never done strategic planning, right? I mean, I've done that, I could do it on the back of my hand, but I saw my 2 or 3 year experienced supervisors leading smaller groups. And I'm like, this is what I wanted. This is like, so I kind of sit back in my chair and I'm like, yes, right.
To put you out of a job.
Well, and I just have, like I sat in on all the different groups. I didn't just join with one. And sometimes I could only stay 15, 20 minutes because there'd be 2 groups going at the same time. And I just popped in to see how they're doing. If they had any questions. I just want to make sure that they were heading the way that we needed to go and didn't get sidetracked because of just not knowing or the ambiguities around doing strategic planning. I stepped in on these meetings and they were like dead on every group, just boom, boom, boom. And, we've just kind of got past the first stage of that. And now we'll be going to our staff team saying, hey, here's the 4 or 5 areas that we're looking at for our strategic planning, changing things. We need your input. And so they're going to have a blank slate as well to work from. And we're going to do it with our residents. It's the homeless folks who live here, but we're home to them right now, right? And so we're going to do something with them, and then we're going to engage our community partners as well. And so but I think what I'm looking forward to is seeing how my managers and my supervisors also are part of leading the community partners discussions as well, which I didn't think they would do, but they're very capable.
Interesting. So, I mean, there's a cost to this. And so you're making an investment. So if I was one of your funders and I would say, hey, what was this a worthwhile investment for you? What's the return on your investment? What sort of dividend did this pay in the short term and maybe in the long term for you?
Yeah. So our budget line is called professional development. And that's exactly what we spent money on. We developed our managers professionally in what they do. So whatever the amount it cost me, I wouldn't tell you this, but I would have paid more. But it was worth every single penny, because I think the outcome is just not about what we are doing now, but this is going to be ongoing. This is going to be years down the road that this will carry us to. So I see that bringing the team back together gave us our foundation again. We had to rebuild it. We had to redo it. We had a lot of cracks in it. It's kind of like, okay, do you break it all apart and start over? I thought I was going to have to, and I didn't. So what I saw was something very different from my team and maybe it's part of my vision. Maybe I didn't allow them enough space in the first place to be out and doing your thing. So it was a learning piece for me. So I learned a lot about my team through that time. And I think they learned a lot about me as well. So, I think there was lots of stuff going on dynamically throughout the training and the stuff that will benefit us for the years to come, not just for the 5 weeks we did it with you.
Yeah. And I know it will benefit your organization. And I can say you have an amazing team and it was awesome to work with them. And I just saw their energy level go up. I saw the lights go on. I saw them see the big picture. And more than just seeing the big picture, I saw them start to own the big picture.
Absolutely.
I saw them internalize it and make it theirs. And I think that's the energy that you're still experiencing as they are taking ownership of that lighthouse, is the analogy that we used for people who are watching. And the impact that can have in the community. And once people take ownership of something, they care about it. And once we care about something, we look after it.
Yeah, and I think initially there's probably some hesitancy, in that, but right after that first session, and then when you broke us up into small groups. I hate small groups. Like, I just don't like it, right? I hate small groups. But it just really opened up my eyes, because when you opened up the small groups the second time, it wasn't the same group. Might have been the same leader in that group, but you shift us around. So we got to be engaged with each other in different ways, which I think was like smartest thing you ever could have done, because it really brought us into discussions with each other through that. I mean, one of my supervisors, she's just on a contract. She was a worker, and her supervisor left and she moved into it. So she's only with us for the next, few months, just to see her engaged so quickly, in what we were doing. And so, yeah, I just got really excited about where this is going to take us, and then even more excited that it led us into strategic planning in such a natural way. It's like, I don't even have to hardly do anything to, help people understand strategic planning. It just became part of who we are, and it was just very organic, step from one into the next, and just continue to move forward. That's why I really believe this is going to lead us into the next few years, not just today.
Awesome. And so, and to close our time, and I'm not looking for a plug here, but yeah, I do work with other nonprofit organizations, particularly, as well as for-profit organizations. And so people that are at the top of their organization, like you are, the senior leader, what recommendation or encouragement would you have for them? If you were to speak to them directly today, what would you tell them if they're considering this?
So, I mean, as an executive director, I would say to anyone out there who's watching, read the book,
Cool.
Buy it for your management team, and be part of the process. Be part of the process. I mean, many times I've been part of leadership or team buildings, and I've led it, so I'm not part of the process, right? And if I look back, I would have changed that now because of what I saw doing it this way. So I think get engaged with your team, be part of the team, let somebody else lead it who's got the experience, and that's why I asked Mark if he would do it. Writing the book, you brought in that outside element that I think you're very engaging. And so to have you do it, you were able to engage my team in a way I couldn't have, and wouldn't have tried to. Honestly, it would have been a very different 5 weeks. It would have been stale. I would be very busy trying to plan each week. And honestly, I don't have time. Right. So to engage you to do that for me was the best money I could have ever spent to do what you did for us. And we got every bit of dollar I put into it, and it's going to last me for years. So it's a long-term investment, not just a short-term. So I would say, if you're thinking of doing this, just know it's a long-term investment, and it's going to be well worth your money.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, John, for spending the time with me, and all the best to your team. You have an amazing group of people doing amazing work, and I appreciate the time, and we wish you well and all the best.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.